Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is Wolf with a Pencil, but as you know, you can call me Wolf for short. And today, I will be talking about Little Nightmares, as I wanted to pay a tribute and a fan art drawing to Little Nightmares, as we know that Little Nightmares, the sequel, the second game, is coming out next year, and as you know, next year is right around the corner. So I just wanted to make some fan art because I was also talking to my friends on a group chat about this game and how I watched it way back in 2016, I believe, when it came out. I don't have the game, so I watched the playthroughs. I watched it with Markiplier, and I also watched it back with PewDiePie. So in this video I am drawing six because I'm paying tribute to the game just gone back in 2016, I believe. But unfortunately I didn't draw Mono, which is the new kid on the block who will be going on an adventure with Six in the new game that's coming out next year. Now, before I get into this video and talking about the game, as you can see, I had already started the hands for this speed art drawing, and the reason why is because it took me forever to try and get the basic structure of how I wanted the hands, as I am not really good at drawing hands at all. I mean, it's one of the common struggles of artists these days have. And yes, I am one of those artists who struggle with hands quite a lot, but they ended up turning out all right. But I didn't get it in the video because it was the first thing I started with, and it was just taking too long. So I ended up doing it off camera. So this is where it starts off as. Okay, for those of you who don't know me personally, well, if you haven't seen my Marvel vs. Capcom video, I love video games. I love watching them. I love watching people play them. I like playing them myself if I have the money to buy the game and play it myself. I am not much of a big gamer. I can say I'm a bit of a gamer because when I do get into my games, I don't really come off them for hours. But you could say I'm still a noob at some games here and there. I prefer to watch people play them, but I do have my own PS4, I do play them, and unfortunately I wasn't able to buy Little Nightmares, but I have watched a playthrough, and I rewatched it a few weeks ago. And so with Little Nightmares, it's one of my kind of like favourite genres of game because even though it's a horror game, it gives an aspect of a suspenseful game. And you follow this in the first, we're talking about the first one right now, since the second one hasn't technically come out yet, only the trailer has. But this game is quite suspenseful, and it takes on a kid-like form in a way, where you see the world through a kid's eyes, if that makes sense. It's not your typical horror game. That's the thing. It's not your typical horror game. And the way the layout of the storyline and the way you play through the game, you do play as Six, but you're not in first person. You're mainly in like third person. You get to see your character do all the activities, the puzzles, the tasks, and even see her deaths. And it's one of those games where it doesn't give you any hints of what's about to happen. You have to learn as you go along through this game. And I really like this game because it takes the same form as another game called Inside, which and Inside is another game that is similar to Little Nightmares. Inside came out before Little Nightmares did, and I think it took a little bit of inspiration off that game as well. And with these two games, there is no dialogue, just suspense. There's a lot of suspense, a lot of weird noises going on. you have to, it's like using all your senses. All your senses have to be heightened with this game because you never know what's going to happen. And technically, you don't really know where you're going. You're just going in a direction where it's pulling you to. It's essentially, you think you're trying to escape something. And that's what both games are like, Inside and Little Nightmares. Is essentially you're trying to escape something, escape where you first start. You're trying to get away from that, but as you go along the way, people, creatures, whatever it is, are after you. And in this game, I don't know. I recently was on a group chat with my friends talking about it, and it really made me want to rewatch Little Nightmares again, just to re-experience everything, as I had not watched it in 3 years. So I went back and I watched it, and it was just it was like I forgotten everything. Well, I hadn't forgotten everything, but it's like I was still watching it for the first time. And I really wanted to create fan art, and then I found out that Little Nightmares 2 would be coming out next year, and as we speak, what is the date today? Where's my phone at? It's the 30th. We only have literally 2 days or a day before 2020, and then who knows how many months till the next game comes out. I would like to have the opportunity to play the game if I ever could get my hands on it. But for now, I guess I'm going to watch the playthroughs. So the little girl in the raincoat is named Six. And like I was saying before, you go through this journey with her. And she starts off sleeping in a suitcase. And she wakes up, and then she's in this place called the mall. And the mall is like this big ship, which is kind of like a big restaurant that hosts like feasts and meals for these obese and gigantic, ugly looking humans. And I say humans with quotes because some of them don't look human, and the chefs also may not be human. The chefs in this game may not be human because they have seem to have masks, and a lot of people have pointed this out before. Plenty of times before. It's also quite gruesome, this game. It's scary, it's gruesome, it's suspenseful. These hands also in the picture that I've drawn in the back, like reaching over to grab her, these hands are the hands of the janitor. And if you have seen the playthrough or have played the game yourself, you know the janitor. The janitor has he has a really short body. He barely has any legs or feet, but he has long, stretchy, gigantic arms with big, massive hands. He's also blind, and his like face almost looks like it's been peeled down halfway over his eyes. So he's blind, but he's able to hear and track you down wherever you make your sounds. So you have to be careful when you're around him, because he can easily grab you with his gigantic long arms. So that's what I try to include in the picture. I'm not going to say what happens to him, but I don't think he's going to be in the sequel. Let's just put it that way. But whoever hasn't watched Little Nightmares, which I'll be surprised because it's quite a popular film, I think you should definitely watch it. What else should I say about this? Because there's so much to talk about. I don't want to spoil anything for you guys, but if you want to, I'll let you know when the spoiler's been skipped, basically. So since I had rewatched Little Nightmares again, I had gone over some of the theories about the game, since there's a lot of speculation, especially with how the game ended, who certain people are, like the lady, which everyone just calls her the lady. Some people think she's a geisha. Some people think she's Six's mother, who the chefs are, who the janitor is, and also the hanging man that you first see in the first room you walk into. In the beginning of the game, as when Six walks into a room, she sees a man dangling from a ceiling, and the only thing we can see as viewers is the feet and legs. And he has long, really long, huge legs. But everyone apart from Six is gigantic in this film, apart from a little kid who also gives her bread in the beginning of the film. Game, my apologies. Um, and so as I was going along, I wanted to know more about the gnome looking people. So as you see, I have drawn a gnome next to Six. Six also, by the way, carries a lighter on her. Sorry, this is all up and down and all over the place, but I just don't want to forget anything. I'm not going off a script here. This is simply just from my head, so please bear with me. But Six does carry a lighter, as it's one of few things she can use to navigate herself around the dark and gloomy moor, which is huge, by the way. Someone who's that little shouldn't even be able to get through the moor that quickly, but she's quite smart. Anyway, the gnomes, which I found out, if you don't want to hear this part, I suggest you skip along. But I did watch the DLC, if it's called DLC or DCL, I can't remember. There's a mini game to this main game called Little Nightmares the Runaway Kid, and you journey through this. You journey in the moor again. It's linked to Six's story as well. So this all happens at the same time that Six is trying to escape the moor. So is a kid who is also trapped in the moor, and is trying to escape, but for different reasons. And on this journey, you actually find out that the gnomes, these little gnomes that you find running around, that you can hug, and they sometimes help you, are actually previous kids who used to live in the moor as well. I wouldn't say live, but are trapped, imprisoned in the moor. They're kids, and they're the way you notice is because they stare at this fireplace, which allows them to see what they once were. And I got this from a few theories, so I have to credit them. I actually forgot the names of them, but I'm not getting this off me, I'm getting this off other theories. But you can kind of piece the puzzle yourself together if you play the game. So it's quite self-explanatory, but their shadows in this certain fire are the shadows of what they once were as humans, as children. Another speculation of the moor is that, obviously, like I said, it's a big restaurant that the lady runs, the geisha woman runs. It's suspected that they feed these huge, gigantic, obese, monster-looking people, children, and all the meat, because there is a lot of meat in this game as well. All the meat that's being used, that's been chopped up by chefs, because they are seen in body bags at first before they are taken out and given to the chefs, are to be children, or the children that lived or was imprisoned on the moor. And it's the only way to keep the customers satisfied. And we also can kind of know this as when Six walks through this restaurant part of the moor where all these ugly creatures are eating, they see a live kid and would want to eat her live. And you know this because they literally chase her down the whole way. And I find it so funny because they cannot even walk. They're that big of a slob. They literally crawl their way. The way they eat is disgusting. They shove things in their mouth. Oh, it's horrible. But that's the kind of effect that this game wants to give you. So, yes. This, and like I was saying before, the boy who was trying to escape found out who these gnomes really were, kind of. And the person who changes them into gnomes is none other than the lady, or the geisha woman, whatever you want to call her by, because I do not think she has a name. The game developers, I don't think gave her a name other than the lady. So yeah. So these gnomes are quite innocent and leave out, apparently, based off one of the theories I watched, they leave clues to who to avoid, and how to escape, I guess, or things that they could have done if they didn't get caught by the lady. So that's one other thing. But overall, this game is just really good. I love this game so much. I would love to play it myself if I ever got the chance to. And six has to be the cutest little thing. But I like her character and her character development through the story, because as she goes along, she has to do a few dark things. I'm not going to say what, because this could be a big spoiler and I don't want to give anything away to those who haven't watched the game yet. But she is a cute, innocent looking quote unquote girl. She hasn't been given a gender, but most people call her she or call her six. I think she's a girl. I don't know why. I feel like she is. So I'm just gonna say she until someone tells me otherwise. But she has a dark side to her that does get unleashed near to the end of this game. Her powers do tend to grow bigger and bigger as she goes along the game. And in some theories, they said she has powers in a sense where whatever she eats, she gains the knowledge of whatever she had eaten. Like in one part, this is not much of a spoiler, but in one part, she did eat a rat that got trapped in a mouse trap, I guess, and she was able to go through the tunnels and navigate, because what do rats do? They crawl through different pipes and tunnels, and after that, which is what one of the gamers had said. This is not credit to me, this is credit to the gamer. I've forgotten because I just go through any theories that I watch and forget who I'm watching. But he had said that she is able to navigate herself through the pipes now because of the rat she had once eaten. And she does gain like big powers in the end, and I love this because this character development is so great. Just because she's a small innocent little child with an immense amount of dark conjuring power with her now, which is almost like uncontrollable in the wrong hands, but she seems to control it with such ease, and I love that those kind of characters in the story. So yeah, there's not much for me to say. I'm more or less waffling about the game, but I don't do scripts. I feel like if I did a script, I would be here forever and I'd sound like a robot. So I'd rather sound like a human being than a robot while making this video. But I do highly recommend this game to anyone who has money to even buy the game. But if you don't, I recommend watching the playthrough. To have a lot more entertainment with it, watch like Markiplier or PewDiePie's playthroughs of Little Nightmares. But I cannot wait to see how they are going to develop this story in the sequel, which is why I decided to do this fan art, because it's fan art for the sequel, even though it's based off the first game, because that's all I know right now. I might do a second fan art privately on Mono, the kid with the box on his face that I showed in the clip at the beginning of the video. So I'm looking forward to seeing what these two like come up against, and also how Mono was introduced to this world, how he became part of this world. We know that Mono is not the runaway kid. I'm not going to say how or why. You don't have to watch that yourself. Watch the ending of DLC, the DLC, or DCR, I forget how you call it. Watch the ending of that and watch the proper ending of Little Nightmares, because you will find out why the runaway kid is not Mono. Like, maybe some people thought he might be before they had played the DCL, DLC, whatever you call it. But yeah, this is pretty much what I have to say on the game and how much I'm looking forward to it, really. I really also am quite proud of this fan art as well, since the hands turned out quite well. They don't look grummy and gruesome, but they look grey and dead-ish looking, kind of like the janitor's hands. The janitor's skin is more or less grey looking, and his hands are quite long and lanky, and they're just very creepy looking. So that's what I wanted to give off. And also, because Little Nightmares is a dark atmosphere and everything is quite dimly litted, I wanted to give off that atmosphere as well in the fan art. I don't do fan art that often. Well, here and there. I do fan art here and there, but not all the time. So I do really and have really enjoyed this. So let me know if you want more of these. This is kind of like a commentary as well, like my last video that did really well, the Shark Tale. Why I think Shark Tale was a good video. But yeah, this has been Wolf of a Pencil, and she's howling at the moon, and she is out. Go watch Little Nightmares now while you can, or play the game before the second one comes out. Peace. Bye.